I have to figure out what's going on with this. Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. 2 or 3 nights ago, we had a big storm blow through here. I know a lot of places are having like tornadoes and big straight line damaging winds and stuff, and it's knocking power out all around us. And well, the power stayed off for like long enough a couple of nights ago that I was like, man, I better get the generator out and at least run my fridge and freezer so that my meat doesn't spoil. You know, we've got a lot of stuff stocked up just in case SHTF comes, and we don't want that stuff spoiling. So I went out, got my generator. It was like, I think I started the thing up at like 4 a.m. And anyway, as soon as I started it up, I noticed it was surging. It was like, it was hunting for idle, and I'm like, oh man, this is not good. And also another thing I noticed, and I don't know why I did this, but normally when I put something up like a generator, I normally run all the gas out of the bowl of the carburetor, you know, run it dry until it runs out of fuel. For whatever reason, I accidentally left the gas on last time, so I'm pretty sure I know what's going on with this thing. It's acting like it's starving for fuel some of the time. Now, it was able to get me through my night without power the other night, so that was all good, but the whole time it was going, you know, so it just wasn't running right. So I'm going to try to start this up and let you guys hear this. And my hope is that if you have a generator that's doing something similar to this, you'll be able to do this quick fix and get your generator back up to snuff. And also, I highly encourage everybody that's listening, especially with this modern fuel, do not run any ethanol in anything like this. But even with pure gas, you know, pure gas, whatever it is these days, they just don't last very long, especially in the carburetor bowl. So run it dry every time, turn your fuel off, and you'll be a lot better off. You won't run into any problems with that like I have. So let's make sure the fuel is on. It is. And we'll hit the choke. This one's electric start, so that's why I pulled it out, because it was like 4 a.m. and I didn't feel like pulling on a pull rope. Okay, there it goes. And maybe it does it a little more with a load on it. You hear how it's kind of just stumbling like that? It was doing it a lot worse when I had a load on it. It was going, you know, running up and down. There it goes. It's just kind of stumbling and bumbling. So I think I know what's going on here. We're going to pull that bowl off of the carburetor and see if that little fitting down at the bottom is clogged up. And we'll start there. We may have to pull the plug out and look at the spark plug. Okay, that's what it was doing more the other day. Like it's hunting for idle. I'll be honest, it doesn't seem to be doing it as badly as it was doing it the other day, so maybe just getting that fresh fuel through there might have cleaned it out a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and pull that bowl off the bottom of the carburetor, and there's a fitting down there at the bottom. Sometimes you can get away with just pulling the fitting out and looking at that and cleaning it out and putting it back in, but since I left fuel in this thing for at least 6 months, I'm going to go ahead and pull that bowl off at very minimal and clean that out with some carb cleaner, whatever flavor you like. I prefer the Berryman's B12, but with the economy going the way it's going, this is the only stuff I can afford now. It's the house brand over AutoZone, so it'll work just fine. We're going to get in there and take that apart. All right, so on this particular unit, and hopefully I didn't get it too hot, this one takes a 10 millimeter down here on the bottom of the bowl. And there we go. And before I go any further, I just realized that I've got the gas on, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuel off so that it doesn't just keep dripping out right here. Okay, so we've got the fuel turned off, and we'll go ahead and get this out. And it's going to drip. Sometimes when you're taking these off, the bowl will actually stick to the O-ring up there, and you can just pull this bottom bolt out here and take a look at that. Okay, this is different than what I thought. It doesn't actually have the little screw hole through it, or the little, some of these will have a hole right here in the end and a little port down there, and that's what will cause you your problems. So let's take a look at inside this bowl here and see what we see. Now, is it going to come off? Yep. Okay, it's actually very clean in there. So I'm going to stick my head in here, and since we got it out, I am going to go ahead and just give it a little and clean it out the best I can, and just get up in there the best I can. Okay, so that wasn't the ticket. I stand corrected. A lot of your lawnmowers have like a little, again, it's like a bolt just like this, but it has a hole drilled through the center, and there'll be a little hole down at the bottom. And I've had those things clog up before, and it'll create a very similar situation where it's like it's starving for fuel. So I think what we're going to have to do here, I really don't want to take the entire carburetor off and rebuild it. That may be what it needs, I don't know. But I think, since it's running a little better, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is pull the air cleaner off, and we're going to squirt some right down the throat of the carburetor. And on these, don't tighten them up too much, because you'll break, you'll damage the O-ring up inside there. Just snug, good and snug is what you need. So I think what I'm going to do now is we'll zoom you back out, and I'm going to start this thing up. I think I'll wipe that gas up right quick just so I don't catch myself on fire. But I'm going to pull the air cleaner off over here, and we're going to squirt some carb cleaner straight down the throat while it's running. And just enough to hopefully keep it running. We don't want to kill it. We don't want it to die. But I want to clean out all those little ports and orifices and stuff. And another thing I may do is go ahead and spend the big money and buy some Berryman B12 and throw it down the into the gas tank, mix it in with the gas. I did pull this off the other night whenever it was running poorly, and I didn't see any problems in here. Any obvious problems. The air cleaner looks clean. I usually keep my stuff in pretty good shape. It's oiled up still, so yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything wrong with that that's restricting the flow there. It's got this little goofy thing here that basically all it does is keep the air cleaner from closing up the port completely. Right inside there is what we're looking for. We're going to be trying to spray right inside of there while it's running. And on the other side of this, there's a little lever that you can pull and give it a little bit more RPM. We may have to raise the RPM up a little bit just to keep it from dying. So let's try that now. Let's start it up. May have to choke it because we ran the fuel out of the bowl. Okay, that's a lot more like how it was running the other night. Let's see if it changes when I put some choke on it. Yeah, I think we've got a minor clog inside there. I don't know if this is going to do it or not. We're going to try it. Okay, I think we actually made it worse. Sometimes that's the way it goes. I just had one other idea though. There's probably a filter down here in the bottom of this thing. This could be clogged up. Maybe that's what's making it feel like it's starving for fuel, but that's what I think is going on here. I don't see any obvious leaks or anything, so I just shut that valve off. So we'll try to take this out and see if there is a filter that's clogged up in here. Perhaps it's that. But yeah, I didn't notice any improvement. In fact, it seemed like it was running more pulsy. You know, it was pulsing more. I mean, that looks fairly clean down there. There's a little couple of specks of stuff, but okay, here's the little screen. I'm going to go ahead and spray that off. Even though it doesn't look bad, we'll just clean it anyway, just for funds. All right. I'm going to give that plug just a little rinse there. It wasn't bad at all. Make sure we're not leaking. I think the last thing to do here, besides pulling the carburetor completely off and rebuilding it, is I think the last thing to do is pull the spark plug out and see what it's telling us. See if it's running rich or running lean. Maybe it'll let us know something. I guess since I did that, I should go ahead and start it up one more time just to see if that maybe fixed it. Let's go. Okay, surprisingly, that does seem to be running a little better. So we're going to put the air cleaner back in, and I'm going to go over and check the spark plug just to be safe on that. Make sure that our plug is not fouled out or something like that, but maybe there was something in there that I just wasn't seeing. Or perhaps the B12 or the carb cleaner actually had a chance to get in there and do something. So we'll tighten this back up, and we'll check the spark plug. There we go. Yeah, the boot looks good. I don't see any problems there. There's a little bit of cracking here, but that's in the outer heat shield, so I could probably get a little bit of electrical tape and put on there, or something along those lines if I wanted to, or not. Just not worry about it. But yeah, that's just an insulating cover over the spark plug wire. So let me go grab a socket. What is that going to be, a 13/16? Yeah, fits it. Hoping that swivel will allow me to get right in there. Oh, it's hot. It burns my fingers. Can't imagine why. I was just running this thing a minute ago, squirting it full of all kinds of weird carb cleaner. How long are the threads on this thing? All right, let's see what we got here. A LG. I've never heard of an LG spark plug. Didn't know they made spark plugs. It actually doesn't look bad. Well, actually, I see a cracked insulator right there. Hopefully you guys are seeing that. See how that ceramic is cracked right there? I don't know if that would cause a problem or not, but maybe. I think just to be safe, I'll run over to the parts store and buy a new one. Maybe that was what was causing it. I kind of have my suspicions. I still think it's more fuel related, but well, while I got it out, I'll go ahead and run down the store. I'll fire up my Harley and run over to the AutoZone right quick and buy a new spark plug, because that might make things better. I'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back from the parts store. Man, that was painful. I was just telling my wife a minute ago, I was like, man, you know, back when I was a kid, when I first started wrenching and working on cars and stuff, you could get a standard spark plug like this here, AC Delco spark plug. These things were 99 cents all day long, or under. You could get the off-brand ones for, you know, or the lesser brand for less than 99 cents. I mean, I remember many times getting them for like 79 cents a piece and stuff like that. Well, this one here, because it's 2024, cost me $5. That's right, $5 US for this thing, for one spark plug. Thankfully, I only needed one, but man, imagine if you had to do a V8 or something. That's why I highly recommend Rock Auto. I get my parts at old school prices. Yeah, I have to pay shipping and stuff like that, but it's much better than the pain I feel when I go into AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Advanced or any of them, Napa, whatever. Their store markup is so high that it's just ridiculous. You know, and they're trying to tell us that we only have like 5 to 9% inflation. BS, BS. This is an indicator that the US dollar has declined in value. That's what that is. So on to the next controversial part of this video here, where I do something that a lot of people have come into the comments and given me grief over. I use this stuff, Blue Moly Never Sees. It's a really great product. It keeps your spark plugs from getting locked into the hole there. You know, sometimes, especially when you've got dissimilar metals, this is obviously steel and that is aluminum. So when you're doing dissimilar metals, you want to use some sort of an anti-seize. Now, a lot of the more modern spark plugs have some sort of a coating built onto them. And people say that the Never Seize is not really necessary. So it was kind of a lot there. I don't want that much. So I put Never Seize on. I've never had it hurt anything. Again, that's a bit excessive. I'll take a little bit of that off. And the only thing bad about Never Seize is no matter what you do, it's going to get on your thumb or something, and you'll never get it off. Everything you touch will turn blue like that. I think the main thing is don't get any down here on the electrode part. And I'm just going to eyeball that gap. It actually looks about the same, so I'm not going to mess with the gap. And I don't have my spark plug wrench or my spark plug adjuster on me anyway, but it looks about the same. So I'm going to let that ride. But yeah, I don't know why. Every time I use never sees on a spark plug, someone inevitably comes into the comments and they're like, oh, you don't need to do that. You shouldn't do that. That's going to cause problems. And I've never had problems. The only time I've had problems is when I haven't used never sees. That's where it becomes a problem. Well, this sumbitch better fit. Cost me $5 whole. Okay, so go ahead and thread that in. At least now we have an AC Delco instead of an LG. I've never heard of an LG spark plug, but I don't know if you guys got a good look at that, but that inner insulator thing right there is cracked. Hopefully you can see that. And maybe it was causing a problem, maybe it wasn't. The main reason I was changing it is because if the insulator part is falling off in there, then there's a good chance that more of it could fall off and actually damage, do some damage inside your engine. Okay. All right, got that done. Make sure our spark plug boot is all the way seated. Feels like it is. Okay, so now we're gonna do one more thing. I said I wasn't gonna do it because this stuff's too dadgum expensive, but we're going to put some tune-up in a bottle in there. This is the best stuff there is. I don't know. Some people seem to like the Seafoam or whatever, but I like this B12 Chem Tool. It's got all the stuff you need to clean out your carburetor, especially in a situation like this where you've had it sitting for a while. And I would say that the gas that's in here, well, I put some fresh fuel in it, but I would say that the fuel that was left over in here was probably about 6 months old. Okay, I'm not going to give it a whole lot because this stuff's like $7 a bottle. I mean, again, this stuff was like $2.99 when I was a kid. You could buy like 5-gallon drums of this stuff for a lot cheaper than that, but now it's $7. So, trying to tell me inflation's 5 to 7%. BS. Anyway. I've seen too much. All right, let's see if we made any difference. Now, it's going to take a while for that B12 to get down in there and do its magic. I'll probably give it a little shake. Just get that B12 mixed in there as good as we can. And now there's only one thing left to do, and that's give her a test run and see if it made any difference. I think I'm going to put some load on it, see how it does. There we go, circular saw. All right, guys, I'm not sure which part of it actually made the improvement, but we definitely made an improvement, especially when it's under load. I could tell it's running a lot smoother. Now, you saw it kind of like stumbling just a little bit when it was sitting there with no load on it. That's kind of normal. It always has kind of done that, but what it was doing the other night when I was using it was it would stumble just as it was under load, so you could really hear it dipping down and picking back up. Right, it almost sounded like it was about to die. And I thought, man, I don't know if this is going to get us through the night here or not, but it turns out it did. So let's just see how it restarts now. Fires right up. It's running a lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that stuff run for a little while. I'm going to let this machine run for like maybe 20 minutes. I'm going to pull it outside and let it run and just let some of that B12 get into that carburetor. And then I'll let it sit there for like maybe 30 minutes or an hour. And then I'll run that last little bit of fuel out of the carburetor. And obviously, if it continues to do this, I'll have no choice but to take the carburetor off and possibly rebuild it. But anyway, I think it's running better, and we're going to call that a win. Again, I don't know which one fixed it. Was it the spark plug? Was it spraying the B12 down the carburetor cleaner down the throat? Was it cleaning out that little sediment bowl for the filter? I have no idea, but if you guys have a similar situation where your generator just all of a sudden seems like it's stumbling and, you know, almost about to die, these are the things I would check. Most likely you're going to find sediment down in the bowl of the carburetor. You're going to find sediment down in that little filter screen down there and all that stuff. So these are the things you need to look for, especially if you're without power. You know, that's where it can be the worst, because you can't just come and watch a YouTube video on how to fix it. So you need to know this before you need the knowledge, right? That'll help you out quite a lot. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Let me know down in the comments if you have any little tricks you like to do when you have an engine that has been running great for you and then suddenly it starts acting a little weird. You know, there's another possibility. Maybe that fuel that's in there is even older than I thought. And maybe another thing I need to do is just sort of like with a motorcycle. When I have lots of motorcycles, as you guys can see over here. And inevitably what happens with my motorcycles is they sit during the winter. I go out and start them up, you know, and keep them running and everything, but inevitably they don't run as good in the spring after they've been sitting all winter until you run a tank of gas through it. So I think that's what we're going to do over here, is we're going to run this tank of gas with that mixture of B12 in there. I really don't know how much I put in, probably a third of a bottle. And with the small amount of gas that's in there, that should be a pretty high concentration. So we're going to run that, get some of that B12 in the carb, park her outside, let her sit there for a while, and hopefully that chemical will do its job, and then we'll have us a good running generator again. But if you want to avoid it in the first place, just remember to run the gas out of the bowl, and never, under any circumstances, unless it's end of the world SHTF, never run ethanol fuel. It wreaks havoc on small engines. Just don't run it. I don't run it in anything. None of my fleet gets any ethanol unless we're out way away from the house and we have no choice but to buy it. And then I will run all of that ethanol out of the tank because, you know, I don't want it sitting there damaging the rubber lines and sucking the moisture out of the air. That's what it does. It sucks the moisture. The ethanol pulls moisture from the air. And so it's fine if you're running the car all the time, but it's vehicles that sit for long periods of time where ethanol can be really problematic, like a generator. So don't run it in your Jenny or any of your small engines, and you'll be good to go. I know a lot of you guys are in, you know, these blue states where you have no choice but to run ethanol, or you have to buy like premium grade, and it's way more expensive to get the pure gas. I don't know why, but in my state it's not that way. We can buy pure gas in any strength we want. It's still more expensive than the ethanol fuel, but it's very readily available here in my state. So anyway, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Run pure gas for the win, and even then, run all the fuel out of the bowl, and all of your small engines will start up when you need them.